Welcome to the Planet of Maths channel. Today, we will learn to calculate absolute value. First, some easy examples. What is the absolute value of 7? The absolute value of 7 is related to the distance on the number line of the number 7 from 0. The number 7 is here, the number 0 is here. The distance from the number 7 to the number 0 is 7. Therefore, the result of the absolute value of 7 is the number 7. Now the absolute value of -4. Again, let's look at the number line. The number -4 is here, and the number 0 is here. So the distance of the number -4 from the number 0 is 4. Therefore, the absolute value of the number -4 is simply 4. The result cannot be a negative number when we calculate the absolute value. When we have a positive number, the absolute value is precisely that number which was in the middle. When inside the absolute value we have a negative number, the result is positive. So the absolute value of -2/5 will be simply positive 2/5. The absolute value of the decimal fraction 1.3, it is a positive fraction. So the result will be that very number, 1.3. It will be no different with roots. When we have the square root of 2, the result will also be the square root of 2. Okay, and what if inside the absolute value we don't have just one number, but we have an operation like here, 10 minus 7? According to the order of operations, we first need to deal with this operation inside, so that absolute value remains with us continuously. And inside this absolute value, we will enter the result of 10 minus 7. That gives us 3. And we already know that the absolute value of 3 equals 3. In the second example, we have the absolute value of 1 minus 5. First, we need to do this operation, 1 minus 5. This operation, 1 minus 5, gives us -4, but that -4 must be enclosed within this absolute value. We don't do everything at once, and only now. The absolute value of -4 is simply 4. The absolute value is positive. In the next example, we have these two minuses, and it might seem that the result would be +5, but that won't be the case. Because here we need to first deal with what's inside this absolute value. So first, we look here at this. The absolute value of this number -5 is the number 5. But the minus in front, it stays here. We have to carry over that minus, and the result is -5. In the next example, we have to add two absolute values. We first look at this absolute value, the absolute value of -3, from which we get the result 3. We need to carry over this plus sign here, and the absolute value of the next number of this -2 is the number 2. The result from this was 3, and from this, it was 2. So we have 3 plus 2, which equals 5. In the next operation, we also look separately at the absolute values. We look here. The absolute value of 0, that is the distance of the number 0 from 0 on the number line, well, it's still the number 0. From this absolute value, we get 0. From the second absolute value from this here, the absolute value of -4, we get the number 4. We get this from these absolute values. We get 0 and 4, and here in between was a minus sign, so we are left with this operation. And from this, 0 minus 4, we get the result -4. The next example, the next absolute values. Here we look at the absolute value of the number 6. From this, we get the result 6. But here in front, there is also a minus. We write down this minus, just as we'll write down that minus 2. And we'll have to calculate the absolute value of -6. The absolute value of -6 is 6. And we write this 6 here. -6 and another -6 together give us the result of -12. Here, I wanted to point out something special. If we solve an example like this one, we have the absolute value of 7 minus 10. We first perform the operation inside. 7 minus 10 results in -3. But the absolute value is still there, and only now does the absolute value apply. It causes the result of this operation to be the number 3. In turn, in such an example, when we have 5 minus 1 inside the absolute value, we perform the operation 5 minus 1, which is 4. It's still enclosed in the absolute value, and only now do we calculate that absolute value. From this, we get the result 4. And here I wanted to point out that if we have an example where within the absolute value 10 minus 7, And in this value, we had the same numbers, but in the reverse order, meaning 7 minus 10, we got the same result. Here we got 3, and here we got 3. It's the same here. Here we have 1 minus 5 inside the absolute value. The result of this is 4. And here we have the reversed order, not 1 minus 5, but 5 minus 1. And from this operation, we also get a result of 4. This is a special property of absolute value. If we have subtraction of two numbers within the absolute value, then regardless of the order of these numbers, we still get the same result. And that's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and I invite you to tune in for the next episodes on the Planet of Mass channel.